So today, John and I want to talk about the journey from batch and blast email to personalized email. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what personalization is, what we view personalization is, and see what you guys think about that. We're going to talk about the barriers from doing personalization, the barriers to doing better email, why automation is key to do personalization, and then going to jump into loads of examples. So we've got loads of examples from our customers as to how they've moved from batch and blast to personalized email. We want to get into that pretty quickly.
Yeah, and they're across a whole heap of different industries and examples, so hopefully we'll be able to kind of provide as many examples that are relevant to as many of you as possible.
So
we're going to start with a little bit of hands up. I'm really sorry. How many of you in this room kind of think that you do personalize your emails, or you do personalize your emails? Okay, we're good.
Ah.
Look, some people put their hands up.
I know, they put their hands up,
amazing.
and there's a lot of people putting their hands up.
I know, thanks. Cool.
So we use a stat quite a lot saying that there's 94% people don't personalize their email. And these are the reasons that we hear from our customers as to why, and not just our customers, but from other brands that we speak with as well. So not enough resource, that's probably quite a familiar one. Don't have time for personalization, fits into the resource. Yeah. Manualness of building email, for example.
Yeah. And like content changes all the time, so you build an email, you get ready to send it, and then someone says, oh, you've got to change that, the price has changed, that's no longer in stock. Things like that change, and it's just, a lot of people find they don't have the time to build all the different versions and kind of manage that to get it out of the door.
So this is why we hear that time and time again, and we find that many brands get stuck in what we call the BAU loop. And the BAU loop is where you are building an email, you've got the HTML, you put the content in manually, you start testing it, you're ready to go, and then something's broken, or an offer changes, then you have to go back, you start testing again, you go back into the loop, then something else changes, and you get stuck in that loop. And that takes a lot of time, so you just focus on doing that. So you're just focusing on getting email out the door. I'm seeing some nodding of heads when I'm describing this.
Who's kind of nodding and has that as kind of a pain point in their day-to-day?
And that's what we call batch and blast. And that means that you can't get beyond and do really good, deep personalization from there. You end up maybe doing some segmentation around maybe women's wear and men's wear if you're a retailer, for example. So you don't then have a kind of long-term focus on your personalization. And that's because you're not able to automate. I always like to talk about this. So I took this picture at a brand who will remain nameless, and they had this on their wall. And this is the process that they went through from start to finish, literally from down there to that email right in the corner, of sending one email out the door. And that took 2 weeks to get one email out the door. Think about what happens in 2 weeks, what changes in 2 weeks, everything that... I did take this about 4 years ago, and they have since changed this process, I'm glad to say. But this is what the manual build process that is preventing, we believe, personalization. So how do you do it? How do you move from batch and blast to better email? So this is kind of the goal. You want to move from this batch and blast mass messaging to everybody to something that is personalized, engaging, relevant, and is live, and is really relevant and rewarding, provides an experience, is personalized. It's not easy to do before we carry on. We work with a lot of customers on this, and it is a really tricky thing to do, and we always recommend starting small. Start with a few things, and we can talk about the best place to start, and then you can increase from there, something that we call marginal gains, so you can kind of keep adding more personalized bits in, and you end up with something really personalized at the end, whether you start with the BAU, or you start in your welcome program, or you start in your cart abandonment program, or you start in your birthday program, wherever it will be. If you start increasing that, then you get marginal gains. So how do we approach it? So we approach it in three areas. So automation, I'm going to describe why that is key. Then we're going to get into what we call personalization, and then also adding on kind of relevancy, which is a really interesting way of doing personalization for lots of reasons, which we will get into. So let's start with automation.
Yeah.
So I mentioned at the beginning, and I'm going to say automation is key. I'm going to say this quite a lot. And let me explain what I mean by automation in our world. It's automating the content in an email, not the email message itself. So it means that that content that you're providing within the message is something that is automatically being updated. And what Kickdynamic does is it updates that content at the moment that you're opening the email. So what that means is because it's updating at every open to the newest content, it means that you don't have to manually edit it from email to email, from HTML to HTML, from week to week, from day to day, whatever it may be. It's automatically updating at that time of open. So that's adding huge amounts of efficiencies. It's low resource from a manual point of view because you only have to create it once. So it's actually no manual resource, it's just setting it up. And then from there, once you've got that automated content, and we're going to show you some examples, you can then move that into then personalizing it to different customers in different messages depending on the data that you have. Does that make sense before I carry on, before Jordan carries on? From an automating content point of view. Great, good.
So what is email content automation? So this is kind of how we see automation in our mind. So we have our platform, and you can connect content sources into our platform. So some of you may work in retail or fashion. That's your product catalog. That might be a new in feed, basically a CSV file of all of your products. Could be an XML file of your blog, your news, anything like that, or it could be an API. So we can connect that into our platform, and basically when you send that email, we're going to call that content source and automate all of the production of that content into your email. So you drop a tag into your HTML, which is just an image and a link, and every single time that email is opened, we're going to go and call that content source and retrieve the latest content. So in terms of that kind of manualness, you don't have to do those manual processes every time you want to get an email out the door. So I work with a lot of brands that have a real focus on efficiency, and this is where they're going, removing all of those niggly little updates they have to do, pausing automated programs. All of those things are now being replaced with automation to save them time and just to help them be really efficient as an email marketing team.
And that content part there can be any content. So we could be products if you're a retailer. It could be news if you're a publisher. It could be blogs if you have a blog. It could be any kind of content. So we've got loads of examples here, but I just want to be clear that it could be any kind of content that you might want to put in.
So I've got examples of all of those things that Matt has just mentioned.
So from the benefit point of view, we've just to kind of recap on the benefit. You're replacing that manual update that you're doing within your email from day to day, week to week, whatever it may be, with something that's now automated. And you can also leverage and repurpose existing content that you may have. So you can take content that's from a feed that's the same feed that's powering the website, for example.
So I think that's a really important point. So you guys will have blogs, you'll have things like that manually, if you want to put a blog post into your email, it's a manual thing. You go check the blog, find the latest content, find the latest content, put it into your HTML. That can all be replaced with an automated solution. So you don't have to do that every single time.
It also means that you don't have to rely on the design team to do stuff. Any designers in the house?
Can't really see.
Good, I haven't offended anyone. Because that can slow things down, because they're really busy designing for the website or designing for maybe social or something like that. You can kind of remove that out of the manual process. So it means that having that, you're now thinking automation, you've got efficiency at your core, and that allows you to then have a new approach to personalization, which we'll get to.
So just to give you kind of an example of automation in practice, this is an example from Asda, who's one of our clients. Basically, they sent a weekly recipe email, and it was completely manual. So they'd go find the recipes, populate it, make it look pretty, have to spend kind of the week getting it signed off before it was ready to go out the door. What they've actually done now is taken their API from their website, plugged that into an email, and now all of the content is automatically populated, and that email is just scheduled to go once a week. So it's a completely fully automated email, which means that there's not somebody there every day having to build it and get it out the door. It's just done and ready to go at all times. And you can see it's really on brand, and it's a really good looking email. This is another great example. I'm not sure if any of you send daily deals, have products that kind of come in as a daily deal. So this email actually, as an example from Staples, they used to run send time optimization, and they have a daily deal pod in the email. So, you know, the email would start firing out at like 6 a.m. and that deal would be available in stock, great. As it kind of got through, you know, they've got millions and millions of subscribers. By the time it got to like lunchtime, that deal was like nowhere to be seen, but people were still getting that content. So by leveraging their tech that they already had, so their API that powers the deals on their site, they've actually been able to take that and put that live into their emails. So whenever you open this email, it's got the latest deal, the latest top deal that's featured on that site. It's always in stock, it's always available to buy. And the other elements in the image that you can see, like the price and the discount percentage, those are all live as well. So it's taken an experience that was good, but it's really massively improved it without any resource. So this has run for sort of 6 months plus without being touched, literally just set up and left to run, which is really, really important because this was somebody's job to kind of do all day long, get this out the door.
Literally set up once, put in an email, and then it updates every open. It's just, the guy just sits there with his feet up now and doesn't do anything.
But you know, it's just a different approach to email. So they came to us with a problem of how do we remove this challenge of the deals selling out and things like that. And you know, obviously, if we can make it live and automate it, that's a big win for them. And they can now spend time refining the email, doing more testing, and kind of use that time productively in other areas of their email. So we've got PokerStars here. Hi. This is an absolutely fantastic example of automation. And this is live odds in an email. So how we can automatically show the latest content at every open. So in this example, you can see the odds changing. That's just kind of an example of how if you open this email at different times of day, you've got the latest odd automatically displayed in that email. Anything to add?
No?
And again, there must be some fashionistas in here. So this is a fab example. So many retailers, so many fashion retailers in particular, send new in emails. And I know that they are a challenge to get out of the door. There's a lot that goes into them.
Is newness important for people in the room?
Yeah. You guys are great. You're always putting your hands up. So in this example, basically, every week there's a new in email, and it would, you know, have to get the products, what are the newest products, figure that out, build it into the email. By the time it's tested and sent, some of those products might have gone out of stock where they've been on the website. Now, what we've done is connected up a product feed using a date stamp in there. We now show automatically the newest products into that feed. We've also built in rules around stock levels, so if any of those new in products sell out, they're automatically replaced with products that are in stock and available to buy. So again, that really strong customer experience of you've always got the latest products that are actually available for you to click through to and buy. So in this example, you'll see this is the email when it was sent, kind of when it was first opened, and then if you went back to that email a day later, you can reopen it. It's got some of the same products, but the others have been replaced with things that are in stock and available.
Just a couple other points on this. So this, if you think about this as like a new in section with the 3 rows of products there, it's in a new in email. So they're sending a new in email, so it makes a lot of sense. You can also just take those exact row of products and put it in any email that you might want to send out. So you might want to send a BAU email out and then have a section at the bottom that is, here's new in products. Or you might want to put it in a welcome email, maybe the second email in a series of welcome emails. You might want to put it in there. The point is you don't have to do any other work other than take the tag, as we call it, take it out of there, put it in that HTML, and then it will render at the time of open as it does in this email. So where newness is important, this actually allows brands to send a new in email campaign if they don't already, and also add new in products into existing email campaigns.
So it's absolutely, like Matt said, it's a great addition to anything that's kind of running in an automated program, like your welcome, your new in, anything like that, because you don't have to touch it. Set it up, it's always going to show the latest.
Okay,
Back to you.
So that's some examples of kind of what we kind of think about as pure automation. So it's where where everyone who receives the email is seeing the same thing, but it's an automated thing, and it's either live, like in the PokerStars example, like real live, and in the sense that it's kind of updating, or it's automated. So how do we take that from everyone seeing the same thing to adding into personalization in that? So personalization and how we view personalization is actually more about individualization. Kind of what Brandon was talking about yesterday, the guy from Forrester, the individualization is really where we are. But we talk about personalization because everyone understands that, and it's a word that people use. But it's about creating as many possible pieces of content in an email that are personalized to the recipient based on what you know about them from just one email. So imagine sending one email out, and in that email it's going to update to every single one of you depending on what we might know about you. That's where we want to get to with personalization. And that allows it to be able to be spread across all of your email campaigns. It also needs to be live. It needs to be on trend in season. It needs to be fresh. It needs to be in stock if you're a retailer. That's what we deem as personalization. And just to reiterate, you can't achieve it without automation.
Yes.
You really can't. So if we think back to the diagram that Jordan went through earlier, we've got us embedded into the HTML, and then you have pulling content at the time of open. You can now add in the personalization part. So at that time of open, we're also going to go into a CRM system and grab data about someone to use to then do more personalization within that content. So real base example, we might go and get someone's brand preference. And then we're going to then match the content from a feed that's relevant to that brand preference, as an example.
So I've got examples of that.
Does that make sense before we carry on? Okay, cool, good.
So with personalization, there's different layers of personalization. So I'm going to jump back to that new in example that I just showed a little bit earlier. If you think of a retailer like Harrods, they've got so many different categories on their website. You go on there, there's 100, 200, 300 categories. And they've got new in products in every single one of those categories. Threes, I'm going to say they've got 100. That's 100 different new in emails that you would have to build and get out the door. What we can do through using that CRM data is merge that into our tag and basically generate a new in email for every single category on their site automatically. So if you consider how long that would take in our platform, it's half an hour to set up from scratch, if that, literally if that. All you're going to do is then take that category preference that you've got in your CRM, and you're automatically going to have hundreds of different versions of this email based on what's new in the category that you've browsed or purchased from before. So that's a really simple example of personalization.
Just to talk about that,
oh, sorry,
I want to make one point. It's important, is we're taking new in and we're personalizing it. It's fair to say that Harrods still do a level of merchandising within this.
Oh, they do.
And that's really important when you're coming, for the retailers in the room, maybe not just the retailers, is that Harrods don't want to show, if someone's brand preference or preference, if a product that's new is a bangle, for example, and let's say they get 50 new bangles in, they don't want to have this email just with bangles, because that doesn't look very good. It's not on brand for Harrods. So you still have to add a layer of merchandising in to say remove bangles. And they do lots of things like that.
Yeah.
Harrods, especially because of the nature of the brand and the licensing laws that they have with their with the brands that they sell, they're not allowed to do certain things as well. So you have to filter that in. So if someone's thinking through that, yeah, it's all accounted for in there.
So to jump on to another example of personalization, and this is a really nice example of taking that kind of category level personalization and just applying an extra layer to it. So price modeling on top of it based on your average order values. So in this example here, if you're a low, medium, or high spender, you get products in your category personalized to your propensity to spend a certain amount on their website. So if you're a high spender, you'll receive new in handbags that are high price point. And that's through that personalization, they've seen an increase in click-through rates of over 300%. So it's really, really key, and it's driven significant revenue from showing the right products to the right people. And it looks really great as well. So I know we've been pretty heavy on kind of fashion at the moment, so I wanted just to jump into travel. Are any of you guys travel people? Anyone work in travel? Oh, hello. This one's for you guys. So this is an example of an email that was super, super manual. and it had no personalization. So it was the deal team would send the email team a list of all of the deals to feature in an email. They'd manually build it out with 9 deals in there. It was really time consuming. They kind of did that a couple of times a week. What they've now done is taken their API, plugged it in, and automated all of that deal content. So bar the header, everything else you can see in these emails, bar the hero, sorry, they're all automated deals. What that automation's allowed them to then do is to take somebody's nearest airport that they know about somebody, so, you know, Heathrow for me, Gatwick for you, maybe. We then get the right deals from our airport. So it's personalized on that kind of level of where we're likely to fly from.
Yeah. Before, they were sending deals that flew from London to people that lived in Manchester.
Yeah.
Which, okay, some people do travel down from Manchester to London to fly, but they just couldn't do it because they had to manually build. What you can't see is you're seeing 2 deals here.
There's 9.
There's about 15 or so or something ridiculous in an email. So they've got to build that manually. They automate it, and then they can go, right, now we have time to actually say, well, let's make sure we don't send London deals to people who are in Edinburgh.
Yeah, so that's really strong for them. So the automation saved them a lot of time internally, which has then allowed them to kind of review everything they're doing and strategically move beyond spending all their time getting that deals email out the door. And now this is a fantastic example from Dustin. They're a Nordics retailer, and they actually send one-to-one product recommendations. So every single person that receives an email from them gets truly personalized products. They've actually got their own API that does that, so they merge in some information from their ESP about a customer, so a unique identifier, and that basically gives them personalized products in their email. The additional benefit of that, everybody's getting the right products, is that the prices and the campaign discounts, everything like that, are all live at the time of open. So you'll see in this example on this screen here, we've got the different image templates. That's all powered from one live image in Kickdynamic, the different variations. So you'll see we've got the first Apple iPhone is not on discount, the next one's a new product, and then the other one is at a discount. That's all powered from one live Kickdynamic image with different visibility layers on there. So you can get really, really creative in your design. You don't have to sacrifice what your image in your email looks like. Anything?
Not this one.
No? Good. So yeah, they've had absolutely fantastic results from this in terms of increasing their conversion rates and their click-through rates, and everything has kind of gone in the right direction. So it's an absolutely brilliant campaign. Well, this one's a biggie. That scary diagram that Matt showed at the beginning, this is kind of like that. So Mobiles is a subsidiary brand of Carphone Warehouse. They sell mobile phones. Now, I don't know if any of you are due for contract renewal, but it's a stressful time trying to pick a phone. Like, what phone do you want? What network? What tariff? How much data do you need? How many minutes? All of that has to be answered with this retention program here by Mobiles. It's a two-year program. 40-odd emails over 2 years you're going to get. They basically did everything manually. So every update of that email, every time they wanted to send an email, they had to pause the program, update the content with prices, and get it out the door. The flip side of that, the prices changed all the time, so sometimes they would have to update that trigger a few times a day. Loads of different challenges with that. So the kind of challenges that they had were they couldn't actually feature price in the email. People were clicking through and seeing different content. So they couldn't personalize the email at scale. So the emails that went out the door kind of had generic deals, have an iPhone deal, an Android deal, 2 deals of each. The pricing would be right when it went out the door, but by the afternoon it could have been out of date. So it was really, really generic, batch and blast. Everybody got that email. Through the processes like Matt and I have been talking about, they've connected up their product feed, and they're using their CRM data to now provide a really personalized email experience to everybody, and it's completely automated. So that whole scary diagram now, every single email in there is automated. It's been running for months and hasn't been touched. You automatically get the right deal for your network that you're on, the handset you've previously purchased, the spend that the contract value of your previous spend. So if you're an Apple O2 customer that spends a lot of money, you're going to get this version. If you're an Android, you don't spend as much. You get the same email, but with the content completely populated based on what you have done before. Anything else? So what the results they've seen, showing the right content to the right person for 2 years, this is what they've seen. So they've almost doubled their sales from email, which is massive. They've got more visitors to their site and an increase across the board in all of their emails of 21%. So it's really, really strong message there. And the best thing about it is they don't have to touch it. It's running, and bar minor tweaks here and there, it just runs itself. Which is great because there's only 2 of them in their team. So they're doing a hell of a lot because it's all automated and they're seeing these results consistently improve. And yeah, they didn't just stop there. So they have added more personalization in above products and stuff. So we've got personalized images, countdown timers, and they've also now personalized content. So they have a knowledge base that has all of their blogs, their latest news, information about handset releases. All of that is automated and it's also personalized to the device that you're using. So if you're opening on an iPhone, you're going to get iPhone news. If you're opening on an Android or you bought an Android last time, you're going to get Android news in there. And they also include social as well, just to mix it up a little bit. So we've got live Twitter feeds in their emails as well.
So what they're doing there is that kind of extra bit is something that we call relevancy. So how can you automate relevancy? What is relevancy? So let me explain relevancy and what it is. So this is where we get into the contextual side of personalization. So this is what you know about someone at that exact moment that they're actually reading your email. So we serve images at the time of open, we update images at the time of open, but we can also detect some things about people at the time of open. First of all, we detect the exact time that they're opening the email. We can detect from a geo-IP level their location. From their location, we can also know what the weather might be in their location. And we also can detect their device. So again, we've got some examples of those, but that's really important to add that layer of relevancy, again, spread into your email programs. The major benefit is actually where you may not have any data about someone. Let's say they've signed up and not completed the preference center, so you have their email address, you're emailing them, but you might not know anything about them. This is a good way to add an extra layer of relevancy in there because we can detect a few things about them at the time of open.
So going back to that mobiles example I just talked about, they have a concept of sleepers. So they're people that haven't upgraded their contract by the 2-year period when they've got to their upgrade window. They actually go into a different program that detects what device that person's then opening their emails on, and the content is then powered by what device they're using. So we recognize that they're opening that email on an Android, they're going to see Android deals in that sleeper period, for example. So that person's dropped off the retention program, but we still know something about them and are able to personalize using that information.
Actually, John, before you go on, let's address one thing, which Dan and Priyanka talked about as well, is the creepy factor here. Obviously, it was mentioned yesterday with Brandon. So we totally agree with Dan's approach, is that, yes, we are detecting quite a lot about someone, but you don't say, oh, we noticed you're opening in London on an iPhone and it's 3 p.m. You don't say that. You provide the content and relevant information based on that kind of thing. So exact same approach. That's the way that we kind of think about that as well.
Yeah, so in terms of like relevancy and things like that, it can be as simple as taking something that's on your site that's relevant information for the person receiving your email and basically just replicating what's on your site in email, which is exactly what this example is. So on their website, Pretty Little Thing have an offer code and a countdown timer. So the offer's valid for a couple of hour windows throughout the day. So it might be free delivery before 12 p.m. and that's available between 9 and 12, for example. Before working with us, they couldn't get that content into their emails. So what they've done now is using our tech, they're able to take that deal and information they've got on their site and kind of mirror it directly into their email, which has led to a big increase in their click-through rates because people are seeing the relevant offer based on the time that they're opening their email, paired with a live countdown timer and when that offer expires.
I think they have 9 offers. Is it 9 during the day?
Yeah, I
so
think
it
so.
updates 9 times during the day, every day, 7 days a week. Have a lot of offers.
Is Jess nodding? Yeah, so another great thing for time of open is things like live TV schedules, for example. So this was something we did for the Olympics, so it was a while ago now, but it's still as relevant. We plugged in a feed of TV schedules and a live medal table, and the content every single time you opened that email had what's up next and the latest medal table every single open. So
we need to update that image because Great Britain is nowhere to be seen, and they came second, I think.
Oh, yes, sorry, sold. But this is a great example of automation and relevancy as well. So the time that you're opening, you're automatically seeing the right thing at the right time, the right TV schedule. And this one?
Yeah, so probably our favourite campaign for lots of reasons is from Squaw Valley. So I don't know if anyone knows Squaw Valley. Squaw Valley is the skiing range in California around Lake Tahoe. So it's kind of north of San Francisco. And they have now fully automated their email that goes out every single morning to give someone an insight into what's going on for the lifts that day. So this is fully live, and every time the email is opened, the content updates to show the lift status, whether the lift is open, whether it's closed, whether it's kind of, I don't know what other statuses there actually are.
Whether it's delayed.
Delayed, that's the one I was looking for. So fully live, and they also bring in the two images in the middle are live webcam images, and then also the weather forecast as well for that day
So this is all powered by the feeds that they use to power, those screens when you go skiing that say all the lift statuses. It's using the exact same tech that's powering those screens when you're on the mountain. It's just in an email. So it's really, really strong, and the tech already existed. They've just literally taken it and repurposed it for their email.
And this is one of those ones where the language you use in the email as well is interesting and really important. They call out that it's real time. So that's why real-time information right there, because that's what their customers want to see. They want to know that what they're seeing is actually, if they now drive and they can go and ski those runs. So they call that out. Doesn't necessarily mean you want to call out another email that you do, but their strategy is exactly perfect for actually calling out this is real time.
And what they found is that people actually check back into the email for the status update rather than kind of going through to the website and trying to get the information there. So it's a really interesting kind of behavioural change for email.
So your typical open rate would be you got send, and then your open rate would spike after you sent it, and then you kind of got a tail like that. For them, you get a spike, and then you kind of see spikes going through. So that's how we see that people are coming back to look at the email.
So again, on the relevancy side of things, detecting what device someone's opening your email on and then targeting that content to be more relevant to them. This is an example of a retailer that on a mobile shows their openers a tap to shop button versus on a desktop you can see we've got the shop the collection button there. And what we've consistently found is that when you show a tap call to action on a mobile, there's a much higher engagement across multiple different industries. So I would expect you guys to start seeing a lot more of this. So keep your eyes peeled, particularly around Black Friday and things like that. There's a lot of device targeting heading everybody's way. And again, we can detect weather when that email's open. So we'll detect where you are and detect the weather. So this is a great example, again, of automated relevancy. So we're automating the products that are shown in there, but they're shown based on the relevancy. So if you open this email when it's over 20 degrees, you get the latest dresses. If you open it under 20 degrees, you're going to get coat content because it's chilly. So it's a really simple, straightforward thing to set up, but what it means is you don't have to, with a retailer like Harrods, they've got so many different countries they send to, the weather's so variable across the world, they do one send and we detect the weather and show the right products at the right time to the right person. So it's completely automated and it's totally relevant. So yeah, just, we've talked a lot, but just to kind of give you a quick roundup of the results for some of these campaigns, you can see everything is really positive. So from personalizing products, we've got brands that are seeing more than like 50% more average order values from their product emails, 33% more conversion from email, and significantly more sort of transactions on site.
The AOV increase is the most exciting one for me always. So it means that people are buying more every time that they click through on an email than they were before. Right? That means that the personalization that we're providing, and the brand is defining using our tech, is increasing. People are buying more. That's a really important metric. It's actually something that we tend to see more over time. So if you took a month, for the first month, you probably wouldn't see that. Because it requires a bit of learning. It requires the customer to realize that what they're getting is something that is personalized to them. Seeing that, opening it more, clicking through more, and then you see the AOV increase. So that's the most interesting metric that we see across our brands.
And it's across a lot of brands.
So to sum up, I don't know if I mentioned it, but automation is key. Really is in terms of getting to that personalization. And if anyone's sitting in the room thinking, oh, I do personalization, I send women's wear and menswear email or something like that, that's great, but you may be stuck there and you can't get beyond that. You have to automate the content to be able to do that. And also combine different layers of personalization, different layers of relevancy across all of your email programs. Because then you get something that I personally am a big believer in, is the marginal gains effect, is that you'll see a gradual increase in clicks, revenue, etc. Get out of the BAU loop if you're in there. If you really are stuck in there and you need some therapy on it or something like that, come and see us, because we can take you through how that works. And we do also believe that content needs to be live, because things are changing quickly. Sale is going on. If you do sale, Black Friday obviously is a big thing, although it can be painful. So things do need to be live.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about Black Friday, but if you do want any information, we've got some great brochures with loads of ideas in there. So swing by our stand and check them out.
Thank you very much.
That's it. We don't have a question slide.
We don't have an end slide.
Yeah.